757 Saturday Sports Talk with Matt Hatfield on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Each episode brought to you by our good friends at Larry King Law. If you're injured in an accident, you call 757-INJURED for Larry King. That's 757-595-8100. LarryKingLaw.com is the website. Back here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, Matt Hatfield here with you. The coach, Ed Young, has now been booted out of the building for his Chicago Bears pick by our man Dino Franza, other side of the glass. Although I have spoken with Ed's agent and the powers that be, and they say Ed is allowed back next week as long as he doesn't break any protocols, which he hasn't so far. And he'll be back in the saddle, so it's okay.
He's got to bring donuts, too. That's part of the agreement.
Yes, that is the word. And if he goes 0-3 on the picks, we might bring in I might contact for the picks. We had her on in the summertime, Dino, on 757 at 6, the weeknight show. Connie Carberg, the first ever NFL female scout from the Jets. And the Jets have had such a miserable year. I feel for her. She's a diehard Jets fan. She used to be in that organization for many years in the scouting department, and actually was the reason why the Jets drafted Mark Gastineau. I might get Connie to help Ed out. He needs somebody to help him, and she'd be the perfect fit.
Mark Gastineau. There's a name from the past. He was there when the Jets were actually good.
Yeah, that's it's been a long time since they've been good. So and they just lost to my Cardinals. So I get Connie's spirits up, get Ed's spirits up. It might be a good little match there. And we like to give you the legends of sports, as you just heard with Coach Hatcher of Sports Inside and Out. And we just had Eddie Payton, the brother of the late, great Walter Payton. We give you some nostalgia on the show. We give you some current events and things happening in the world of sports, like Tim Kirkchin of ESPN, Major League Baseball analyst there on the radio and TV side. And, of course, you got the LCSs, the National League Championship Series and American League Championship Series, which you can hear later on today here on ESPN Radio 94.1. And we had on Damian Sordelette from the News in Advance out there in Lynchburg to give us the Liberty-Syracuse preview. If you missed any of the show, want to hear it again, perhaps something you liked, it'll be up on our podcast page, ESPNRadio941.com is that page. We'll also have some links out later on the weekend here on our Twitter feed at 757 Sports Talk. That's 757 Sports Talk. We like to put out a lot of different things that we do with the show and area news and sports news when it comes to everything involving our local teams and players at the pro, college, and high school levels. And, Dino, I see Pete Thamel of Yahoo Sports not long after we had Damian on said, don't be surprised if Syracuse gets blown out by Liberty today. They've been gutted by injuries as they have, as Damian mentioned, literally 6, maybe 7 starters out for this game, and that's why they have become the underdog against the Flames.
Who would have thought? You look at that, Syracuse, an underdog at home against Liberty. You would have never dreamed that in your lifetime.
And not just that, a Syracuse team who's number 1 in the country in takeaways. We know their offense has been less than stellar, but man, oh man. We do have some news to pass along on the college sports front when it comes to an announcement. The NCAA's Division I Council voted this week to give an additional year of eligibility to winter sports athletes. Just like fall sport athletes, doesn't matter how much or how little someone plays, you get another year. And some don't like that because it's the free coupon approach or mentality. Nonetheless, given where things are, I like it more than I dislike it. There's some pros and cons to it. I think the pros outweigh the cons. And ultimately, how crazy this year has been, I think the athletes are deserving of this.
I think so, too. It's not their fault that COVID-19 happened. These are different circumstances, and it's nice to see that they're making adjustments.
And speaking of winter sports athletes, and by the way, the NCAA convention in January is shaping up to be a crazy event because they're going to look at the one-time transfer proposal as well as the NIL reform that's going to be voted on. That's the name, image, and likeness. So next summer, college sports is going to have a very different look and feel, most likely to it. College basketball schedules are starting to trickle out. We had Robert Jones a couple weeks back from Norfolk State. We hope to have theirs and the full schedules for some of our local college basketball teams like NSU and HU and, of course, Old Dominion. We do know Old Dominion's season opener at the moment, it's scheduled, and the rest of their schedule's in the works. Jeff Jones and his Monarchs, they've announced that the team will be opening its season against William and Mary on November the 28th. So that's the final Saturday in the month of November, right before the calendar gets ready to turn to December. That following Tuesday, the Tribe come to Chartway Arena to take on the Monarchs. We don't know what the fan situation is going to be, how many, how few, if any, full capacity, semi-capacity. I don't think it's going to be full capacity. Nonetheless, Monarchs and William & Mary, I like to see the local matchup there, and that'll be the first game for ODU coming up at the end of November.
Old Colonial Association matchup.
It is. And remember, last year's team had 8 losses by 5 points or less. They'll get back Jason Wade from injury. You feel like they'll have a better move up in the Conference USA standings after winning the league regular season and tournament title in 2019 with that group led by Ahmad Caver and BJ Stith and the tournament MVP that year in the CUSA tournament, Xavier Green out of Williamsburg Christian. He's back to go with Wade there. And speaking of the CAA, one of the leagues, Dino, that has released, they're going to do back-to-backs basically. So take JMU, for example. They'll play January 9th, January 10th, Saturday, Sunday at Wilmington. The 16th, Saturday, Sunday versus Elon. They're going to play back-to-back games.
Interesting.
Yeah, so some of the schedules we'll have out in the coming weeks. That'll do it for this edition of 757 Saturday Sports Talk. For Dino and the coach, Ed Young, and all the guests, I'm Matt Hatfield. Enjoy your sports weekend, and we'll talk to you next week right here on your home for sports, ESPN Radio 94.1.